Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the wild, wacky, and weird world. Did I leave out a word? Yes, wonderful world of the Word. Yes, when we look at different things about the scriptures that we hold so near and dear, and we find out, hey, there's some really strange things going on in here. And we have something like that happening this week with our passage from the book of Romans. I'm just going to read the sentence that is kind of interesting, and you can work on it. All right, here it is from Romans 8, and we'll start with verse 15, and that's where it's found. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you received a spirit of adoption. When we cry, Abba, Father, it is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And it goes on from there. But the important part I wanted to get to was the Abba, Father part. How many times have you heard it said from a pulpit, including mine, that Abba meant daddy? You know, that very intimate and, intensely personal word that you would use to talk about God, like a little child talks about their daddy. Well, let's take another look at that word. There have been numerous articles written, and scholars now generally agree that to call God daddy is not proper. So when did we start using Abba as daddy? It has a kind of a unique but very, very recent history. There was a German theologian who's done some excellent work, especially with the parables, Joachim Jeremias, who in 1971 said that this word Abba was nothing more than childish chatter. It's an Aramaic word, and we've seen this before in Scripture, whether it's Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic, where we didn't quite know what the word meant in our English, so it just kind of left like that. We had it last week with paraclete, right? Although we have different ways to try to translate that, we don't know how to do it perfectly. But Abba is another one of those. But he said it is the word for father, but it's the childish one, and it's kind of disrespectful, and that's why it would have been so shocking to those people listening to Jesus at the time. Well, some of his own contemporaries, meaning Jeremias' contemporaries, got on his case and said, you really have this all wrong, that it doesn't mean daddy. There were a few of them. George Shelbert in 1981 said, no, you're wrong, you're all in error. The reason it's Abba, Father, is that there's no other Aramaic word for father. That's the only one you could use. A little bit later, another theologian, Vermes, in 1983, said, if anything, what it means is my father, meaning my personal father, not just father in general, but my father. So yeah, there's that little more sense of intimacy there, but it doesn't mean daddy. But the really conclusive article was written by a James Barr in 1988, and it was entitled, Abba Isn't Daddy. He said, now, we have to remember that this is an Aramaic word in use in Jesus' day. It's in no way used in a ceremonial sense, like you wouldn't use it in church, just out in common parlance, common language, the colloquial use of it. And it was used by younger children, but it was also used by children of their father, no matter what age the children were, because it was their father, Abba, Father. And they said it appears 3 times in our New Testament. It appears in the Gospel of Mark, here in Romans, and also Paul uses it later in Galatians. And the whole point is this: if it was meant to be translated daddy, it would not have been Abba Father, as we have in all our translations. It would have been Abba Daddy, because in the Greek, there is a specific word for daddy. The word for father in Greek is pater, and that's what we have in all three of these cases, in both in Mark and by Paul's usage in both Romans and Galatians. But the Greek word for daddy is papas. Not P-A-P-A-S, but P-A-P-P-A-S, papas. So that should put the whole issue to rest for us, that for some reason it just kind of spread like wildfire that Abba meant daddy, daddy. And the whole point is, even the Jews of Jesus' day wouldn't have dreamed of calling God the Father daddy. They would have said father, my father. So it's probably best, most scholars looking at it today would say, if you want to try to capture the essence of the personal relationship that is being used in the Gospel of Mark and also by Paul in his two letters, it would be best to translate it dearest Father, not daddy. That's a little too, should we say, childish and not proper, not reverent enough for God. But how about dearest Father? That draws you close to God the Father, but also shows a little more reverence and respect. Just another one of those wild, weird, and wacky ways that we look at the word and don't always get it right, and sometimes even struggle to really try to figure out what does it mean. And in this case, it's all because we have so many languages coming together, Aramaic, Greek, and our English. Sometimes it makes it just a wee bit difficult to put all together. God bless you, and continue your work in looking at this wild, weird, and wacky world of the Word.